be talking about building a barcode scanner, and we're going to use our back-end services to make it all happen. And the presentation will be by Max Katz, who's the Chief of Developer Relations, I think that's clear enough. My name's Charlie Collins. I work in content and sales and marketing. I'll be helping out Max, but he'll be doing most of the presenting. Now, the basic framework of our webinars is that we do a little quick intro, we go straight to the demo part, and then we have a Q&A at the end. At any point during the webinar, you can type in a question in the bottom right screen. And then we'll try and get to as many questions as possible. One of the things that the slides that we have at the end when we actually do the Q&A is the contact information for both Max and myself. So you can always get in touch with us afterwards if something occurs to you then. Another thing to keep in mind is if for some reason, we prefer if you were here because we like having people, but if for some reason you have to drop off, we do record these webinars, and every person who registers will receive a link to the YouTube version of the webinar. You can also access it if you can't wait for the day or so for us to put it up on YouTube. It's also available through just going into GoToMeeting to sign up for the webinar. So I'm going to, so as I said, we're just going to give you a brief intro, and let me take care of some details here. All right. Okay, so. Okay, back one. Oh, that's it. Okay, keep going. All right, so that's our, as I told you, that's our overall plan. And here, just a little about Exadel. Exadel is the company that makes Appri.io. Even though Appri.io is pretty much of an independent team, they do work under the rubric of Exadel. And Exadel is a global software development company. Basically, the way that things like Appri.io happen is that when we do these custom projects, we're always finding that we use the same solution to solve problems for our customers. So when we see a pattern of the same solution all the time, we often think about ways that we can sort of productify that. And that's kind of what happened with Appri.io. We noticed this pattern where a lot of our clients needed a platform to support mobile app development. And so we decided that we would just create this kind of cloud-based mobile app development platform. And Max will tell you more about it. But that's basically how Exadel is hooked into this. So, and here's our, just to give you an idea of the breadth of our experience in software as a company, here's our latest slide of logos. So that's where Exadel fits into the picture. And now I'm going to turn it over to Max, where he'll start explaining a little more about Appri.io specifically.
Thank you, Charlie. Welcome, everyone. So as always, I'm just going to quickly run through the main features of Appri.io, and then we're going to actually jump into a demo. Also because we're actually going to be building a native app or a phone app, we'll turn on the video here so you guys can see my phone where the app runs. So we're going to try that today. But to give you a quick overview, so Appri.io is a cloud platform for creating, building mobile apps. And it runs anywhere, runs entirely in the browser, and that means it's very easy to start. There's nothing to download, nothing to install. You can basically develop from anywhere. We provide a visual UI builder. We can basically build the app UI using drag and drop approach, but at the same time, you have access to the source code, and that means you can write any custom JavaScript, any HTML, any CSS. So it's entirely up to you. If you want to, you can do that. You can customize the app. What's important is that having the two approaches together, that's what makes a really powerful solution. So again, the UI approach and the source approach. We got integrated backend services, and that means we got a cloud database for storing up data, and that's actually what I'm going to be using today. We got a push notification feature. There's a server code feature which allows you to write any custom app logic on the server using JavaScript. And of course, the key is that you don't have to maintain the servers It's all running on the Opry.io platform. And one more thing we recently launched is called Secure REST. It allows you to keep sensitive and private information, such as API keys, for example, on the server. So keeping that information on the server makes your app sort of more secure. It's very easy to connect to any third-party API, so anything available out there you can easily use in your app. As for the kind of apps you can build, so you always start with HTML5 mobile app or a jQuery mobile app. We use jQuery mobile for the UI components, and every app also comes with PhoneGap. So you have full access to PhoneGap APIs, and that means you can build a binary or hybrid app for iOS, Android, Windows Phone. And as I mentioned, you of course get access to device APIs via PhoneGap or Apache Cordova. We got a bunch of different API plugins, and these are basically out-of-the-box API, simple apps or connectors to some of the popular APIs, such as, for example, Facebook, Salesforce, and so on. So the basic idea is that you can import a plugin and basically be instantly connected to that specific API vendor. Moving to the last row here, REST Express is that if you have any data source that's, for example, a relational database, a web service, or LDAP, or actually any custom data source, and you would like to use it in your mobile app, so REST Express will expose it as a RESTful API, a set of RESTful APIs, and that will enable you to use it in your mobile app. Enterprise Mobile Safe is another component to Opry.io, and that allows you to deploy a very secure app where the data is completely secured on the client, and of course between the client and the server. And as Charlie mentioned, Opry.io is backed and created by XFL. The plan is, again, very simple, as always. We're going to build an app. We're going to use a barcode scanner. So again, we're going to be using basically a native API via Apache Cordova PhoneGap. We're going to, once we scan the product, we'll be able to save the product into Opry.io database. If we scan the same product again, we'll be able to actually update the entry. All right, we'll test the app. I'll run it on my phone, and I'm going to show you the Opry.io mobile tester. So the Opry.io mobile tester allows you to test native apps without having to install them, which is pretty nice. And again, I'll build a binary at the end, so you guys, if you would like, you can also try it as well. And then, as always, we'll go into Q&A. So I'm going to switch to the platform. All right. So you guys should see the platform. We've got the app selected. And so these tabs basically represent the main features that I just sort of mentioned. We got apps. So this is the UI portion. We got databases, push notifications. We got server code. We got secure REST, what I just mentioned, and we got plugins. So to start, we'll create a brand new app by clicking Create New App link. We'll call it actually Warehouse App Webinar. Click Create. So in just a few seconds, we're going to create a brand new app. There we go. So the warehouse, I named it Warehouse basically. It's an example of warehouse app where someone goes and that person scans new products, and then he or she can update the inventory basically. So that's the basic idea. Anyhow, so this is the start page. I'm sure some of you have seen this before. So this section here lists some of the upcoming events. So there's one more webinar coming in 2 weeks, I think, the server code in action. But let's go ahead and open the first page. And this is there's a default page. Now, the theme or the swatch is now set to black. And actually, just a few days ago, we upgraded to jQuery Mobile 1.4, which is really the latest and the greatest jQuery Mobile version. It runs much faster. And this particular version, at least right now, has only two swatches, basically the black and the white. You can create custom themes, of course, in swatches, but we can also add and use some of the out-of-the-box custom themes that Operator provides. So I'm going to go to Project, App Settings, and you can see, so these are all the themes, and we're going to go Flat UI, and then every theme has, a number of swatches. You can go back here, right? And this is how it looks. So let's say change the header. All right, and then the next step is to build the app UI, and the app UI is going to look like this. First, we're going to drop a button. This is going to be scan product. And then we're going to get 3 input fields. This is going to be the name, and this is the placeholder. This is going to be the quantity, and we can change the type to number. And then this one is going to be the actual code. All right, and now because we're going to be scanning this this code, right? It's again, let's assume in our example it's never entered manually by hand. So what we can do, we can make this field to be read-only. And how do you make this field read-only? So in general, when you select a component, you get all the properties here, right? But in some cases, not all the properties for a particular component are listed. So what do you do, in such case? Well, there is more properties feature, which is actually very powerful because it allows you to add any property to this particular element. And basically, when I click more properties, I can add anything I want. So this is read-only, set it to true, right? So again, this is an example of HTML property. So you do need to know which property is supported by which element. But again, this allows you basically to support all the properties out there. Save option, all right? Now, it's not going to be visible in the builder, but when we run the app, you'll see that it's read-only. What I can do now, I can test the app. And now, so we're just testing the UI portion here, and you can see this actually read-only. In general, in other webinars, I make the app public and share it with you, but because this is an app that has to be installed, there is really no point of sharing the app because it's not going to work running just in the browser, right? Because the barcode scanner has to be involved on the phone. But I was just wanted to show you the read-only property. Anyhow, so this is how it looks. Let's go back here. I also want to quickly just give these names because I will use these names later. And this is code. And the last thing is we're going to get a button here, and we're going to make this, and we'll call this add, and we can add an icon if we would like, plus. All right, so then this button, we're going to do it in just a little bit later, but this button, the label, which will change based on, it will be add or update, right? So add if it's a new item, update if it's an existing item. All right? So this is it for the UI. Again, if I want to, I can just always just quickly test it and see how it looks. All right. So this is it for the UI. Next, we're going to add the barcode scanner service. And to do that, we're going to create new. So create new is where you basically add new pages, new services, CSS, JavaScript. And in this case, we want to go to service. And you can see that there are 4 services listed here. Now, so again, these are PhoneGap-based services. And if you're wondering, well, but there are a lot more than just 4. Yeah. So you're absolutely correct. There are more than 4. And so these are sort of the most popular ones. Everything else, you can use the API directly. We're just invoking the very simple API that PhoneGap provides via JavaScript. And we got, I think, 3 or 4 other examples in the documentation how to use other components as well. But let's go barcode, create service. Now, because this is based on an existing API, there's nothing for us really to set. It's all sort of preset for us. Okay, there's nothing for request, and then this is what we get in the response. Okay, and the service is here. So let's get to the page, and let's. So design is for building the app UI. I'm going to switch to data for adding data sources, and device, barcode scanner, and let's rename this scan items, and edit mapping. Okay, so again, there is no input because we just invoked the scanner, but on the response, we get a couple of things here. So first, text, this is the actual code that I'm going to get back, and I'm going to map it to the code component. I'm also going to save it into local storage because I'm going to use it later. So I'm going to create a local storage variable. Okay. Now format. So there are different, there are different formats of a barcode scanner that sort of you can do. So the format specifies the format that you scan, and then canceled will return yes or no, I believe, if you actually cancel the scan. Right.
Someone asked about that. It canceled.
Good. All right. So this is it. All right. Now the next step is, so we're going to do 3 more things here. So once we scan, we're going to search the database and see if this item exists. If it does exist, we'll have an option to update it, right? Its name and the quantity, for example. If it doesn't exist, we will add the new item. So basically, we need 3 more services here. We need a query service or a find service, then create service and update service, right? That will work with the database. But before we can create the services, let's go ahead and actually create a database. So here, there's a database link. All right, and I'm going to create a brand new database. And click Create. All right, and I'm going to create a new collection. Call this Products. Okay, and I'm going to add 3 columns. First one is name. This is quantity, and we can make this type to be a number. And one more is the code itself. All right, so this is our database. And once I scan, we'll actually be able to refresh this table, this collection, and see the items that we have either added or modified. But before we do that, now that we have database collection, we can actually generate services. I'm going to go back to the app builder. I'm going to create new, and I'm going to select database services. And it shows me a list of all the databases that I have. This is the database that I just created. And then it shows me the collections that I have. So what I need is create service, I need update service, and I need the query service. Okay. Import services. And the services appear right away for, okay. So the first one that we need is the query service, right? Because once we scan, we would like to actually search the database and see if the item exists. So the query service is right here. And again, because it's auto-generated, everything is set. There is really nothing for us to do. Request and response. So again, very fast and easy. Let's go to the page. Again, design. I'm going to switch to data. Actually, I'm in data. I want to go back to the list of data sources and service and query. All right? And we'll call this find item. And now binding. So for the request, so this is, I'm going to take the value from local storage, right? That's the barcode ID and map it to the where attribute, right? Now, this is still, just mapping like that is still not enough. We actually have to put it in the right syntax. Basically, we can add a very basic JavaScript here. And got a little cheat sheet here that looks like this. But basically, again, this is also a very powerful feature that allows you to take data and run any JavaScript before you actually use it with the service. But basically, this is the format that we need. So this is going to be code, and the value, this is the value that's being mapped. So then I'm going to run a query service, and it's going to look for a record with this, where the code is equal to this value. Okay. Okay. And on the response, we need a couple of things here. So first, the name. If we find the name, we're going to map it to the name property, and then the quantity. And then if we can do, we don't need to map the code, but I also need the ID. So let me, and I need the ID for updating later, right? So if we find an item and we like to update it, I need the update is done based on ID of the object, and so I need the ID if I do find the item. Okay? So this is it for find. Next, I need to do sort of two more things. I need to define the create service or map the create service, and also the update service. And then I'm going to run it all at once, right? So testing right now sort of doesn't make a lot of sense because things still don't work as they should, because, again, once we have the services, we'll be able to test. Let's go back to the list of data sources, and let's create create service, add, save item. Now we need the name. If it's a new item, we're going to map the name, the quantity, and the code. All right, and we'll create a new item. On the response, we don't really need to do anything, so we're done here. Back to the list of data sources. The last thing is we need the update service. So this is going to be update item and mapping. And so this object ID, this is the ID of the object we want to update. That's why we need to map this. Right? And then we're going to take the name and the quantity. Now, we don't want to do anything with the code because the code stays the same. And basically, if we don't submit the code, we don't send the code, that value will not be updated. All right? So we got the four services, right? We got one native service, and we got three REST services. So next is we need to invoke those services. And we also need to take care of changing this button to, from add to update, depending on the scan and if the product exists. So first, I'm going to select the button. I'm going to rename it to action button. So anytime you want to, refer to a component when you run the app, you want to give it a name, right? So it's just easier for you to find it in the browser. All right. So let's now do this. So first of all, we need to invoke the scanner, right? So we're going to select the scan button, open events, and on click, we're going to select invoke service and scan item. All right, so this will launch the scan. Once the scan is done, right, we would like to immediately launch the find service. Okay, basically, sort of right once the scanning is done, right, we don't want to have the user do any more actions. So for that, I'm going to go to data, and this is the data. This is these are events for the data sources. I'm going to select scan item, and I'm going to basically saying once the scan is successful, I would like to run another service, which is find item. All right. So again, we scan. The scan is successful. We invoke the find service. Okay. Now, once the find is once we find or we don't find, but basically once we get the result back, we would like to update the button to either add or update, right? And for that, I'm going to select find item. On the success event, I'm going to run a very basic JavaScript, which I have right here. So basically, if no data is found, right, the button is add, right, and we're just clearing the name and the quantity values. If we did find some data, then change the button value to update. Okay, and then again, the operate.io function, right, takes the component name. Okay, so you can definitely use that, but keep in mind this is just a wrapper on top of a jQuery select. So you can use the full power of jQuery to manipulate the DOM as much as you need. Okay. Anyhow, so the sequence of events is this, right? We scan, we search, and then we run the JavaScript to update the button. You know, it's either add or update. Okay. The last thing we need to do is, of course, do something on the actual button click, right? And so I select the button. I go to run JavaScript, going back to my cheat sheet and running this little JavaScript code. Okay. So again, basically, I'm checking if the button label is set to update, then I'm going to run item update item execute. Otherwise, save the item. Also, this is also from operate.io API, where you can invoke services programmatically or basically from JavaScript. So you're not always required to use invoke service. Again, you can just write, this is the data source name, and then you just write execute. And you can also pass parameters as well to the execute. Okay? And again, this update name, save name, that's coming from, these are the names right here. All right? Very good. So we're actually done. So the next step is to test. And before we do that, I want to show you, so there's the operate.io mobile tester, and it's available for Android, right, and iOS. And it's really nice is that it allows you to test the app that uses native APIs without having to install the app, okay? You will sign in, right, and you get a list of all the apps that you've created, and then you simply tap an app, and it will launch the app for you. If you make any changes, you just relaunch the app. It will re-download the latest changes that you made, and you can test it again. So again, it's going to save you a tremendous amount of time when you test a native app, right? And the same is available for iOS as well. All right. So what I'm going to do now, let me just give this a try here, and then I'm going to activate the camera so you guys can also see how it works. All right. But give me just a few seconds. I'm going to go back here. Let's open the UI part. And let's try this.
Okay.
I'm going to first try it without the camera. And then we'll activate just to make sure it works.
One step at a time.
Yeah. So now, but what's nice is that once I scan an item, we'll be able to see it in the database, right? So we'll be able to see it right here, the data.
Okay. That's the first thing to demo.
Exactly. So launching the app. And I've got
oh, that looks good.
A coffee creamer here. So I'm going to.
Oh, yum.
All right, so launch the app. All right. So I found the product. It usually, you know, I turn off my phone, the sound off. But it usually does a little sound when it scans. Let me actually turn it on. Let me see.
Yeah, we need the full multimedia experience.
I know. Anyhow, so basically, I'm going to enter the word creamer here. And then quantity is 2, for example. And then click add. And going back here, I'm sorry, actually here. And you can see that a new item was added. All right? Which is pretty right? So this is the code that I scan, right? So the quantity and the name is actually entered by me. Well, give me just a sec here. I'm going to do this one more time so you guys can hear, and I'm going to open the. So that now, because I'm scanning the same item, it should change the button to update. So give me a sec here. Launching the app, the latest app. All right. All right. So there was a beep. Hopefully you guys heard the beep. And yes, so basically it says streamer 2 and then update. So let's say I want to change the quantity, right? Let's say I want to change it to 6. And I'm going to click update. And if I click refresh, we can see that the quantity changed to 6. Okay. All right? Now, another thing we can do, well, actually, it's fine. I just did a simple search for barcode samples, right? But you can basically use any product that has a barcode, or just do something like this and just scan these codes. And of course, the actual item is entirely up to you. I mean, you can enter anything. Well, let me activate the camera here.
Okay. That's what everyone's waiting.
Give me a sec. Hi everyone.
There you are.
So this is the app. I'm going to turn a little bit, and you can see. So this is the app, and I'm going to click scan, and you can see it switched to a scanner, and then I've got my Creamer here.
Max, you should point out to people they can maximize the image.
All right, you can see it's scanned, and it's found, it says, hopefully you guys can see, it says Creamer 6 and then the barcode. And you guys should be able to maximize the video window. But basically, I just scanned the same item, and I can change it. Let's say now it's I don't know, 8, and then I can update. All right, and let me now scan. Let me just turn it off just to show you back here. And if I go to the warehouse, the data table, now it says 8. So I'm going to scan a new item now, right? So I'm going to go to my Google search here, and I'm going to scan a new item. So I'm going to scan this barcode. All right. And of course, this is a new item, so it doesn't exist. And we'll just say it's it's a phone, and the quantity is 3, and then add. And if I go to the database, refresh, you can see that I scanned it. It's a different code. All right. So what I'm going to do now, actually build the binary. You guys can install it, and just because we're limited on time, I'm going to do the Android binary. So those of you with Android phones will be able to, if you would like to install this app and test it. All right. But again, hopefully the video proved that that was a real app that we just built. All right. So let me go here. Let me launch the build, and the build was launched right from export, right? And I'm going to select Android. So it's going to take maybe, I don't know, 40, 50 seconds to build a binary. So I guess we can just, it's going to tell us, but let's go back. Let's go back here. I mean, of course, you can also add more, sort of, you can put a label here and say, hey, this product was found, this product wasn't found. So, it's really sort of up to you. You can customize it as much as you want. I mean, my goal was to show you, hey, you can scan something, you can search for it in a database, and then, you can save or update into your database. Okay, so let's see here. All right, maybe after these 10 seconds. Maybe additional 10 seconds. You will need to have a QR code scanner on your device to download the binary file. So again, you'll be able to basically use scan. It's going to give you a link to the URL, and you'll be able to download and install the file.
Yeah, we should really play music, I think.
I know, it's still building. Well, let's see if these 2 seconds will do it. Not yet. Well, actually, what we're going to do is I'm going to switch the slides, and I think we're actually going to go into Q&A. But again, I'm going to come back the moment this is done. I guess we can.
Yeah, we could do it that way.
Still building. All right. Let me go back here. But basically, this is what we did, right? Very simple, in short, but really showed you how fast it is to build such app. Again, we use the barcode scanner, we use the app reader database, we tested the app in the mobile tester, and we are right now building the binary. All right.
Well, let's move on to the next we have the next webinar. That's always. There we go. So here, you have some water, Master. So our next webinar will be more about back-end services. This time we're going to zoom in on the feature that's called server code. And server code is where you can execute JavaScript code from our server and incorporate it into your app.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I don't want to get it wrong. We'll have the same basic format. It'll be 2 weeks from now. And it's already all the information you need to register is already up on PlanCast, so you can just head over there if you want to register. Oh, it's done. Okay.
It's done. Anyhow, if you guys want to scan this QR code, so there is also a binary that you can see it was downloaded. I mean, I don't think there's a way to actually push a file, upload a file to go to a webinar. So if you guys want this file later, the actual APK file, send us an email. You're going to see a slide with our contact information in just a second. But otherwise, go ahead and scan this QR code, install the app, and we can actually refresh the database and see if you guys scanned anything. Again, if you guys, looking for a barcode, if you guys have a soda on your table, there is a barcode. If you have, a candy or something, like a energy bar, you have a barcode. So yeah, pretty much everything. Okay, but let's go. I'm gonna, I guess, stay here a little bit longer. You guys get a chance, yeah. Scan. All right. Okay. Let's go back here.
All right.
And this is our contact information. Okay. And if you guys want the app that I just built, we also have a tutorial for it. Basically, it has a little bit more steps, but the link is right here. So you can try this app step by step, or you can watch the webinar, the recording, once it becomes available. And again, our contact information at the top, very simple. Just Max at XL or Charlie at XL. What I'm going to do, I guess, I'm going to go back to the QR code, and then we'll go into Q&A.
All right. You might want to leave up the slide for the...
Well, I'm going to keep the QR code a little bit longer.
Okay, that's fine.
But let me see. I'm going to refresh.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Someone scanned, so it does work. So we got a German newspaper. Yeah, I mean, I personally think it's really awesome where you can just build an app within, 10, 20 minutes, and build a binary and have other, webinar attendees or users install and try the app. So I mean, I think it's really incredible.
So I'm going to start from the top and pulling out some questions. Some of them are going to be things that you may have covered, but it doesn't hurt to repeat it really quickly. One is someone wanted to know about finding the list of properties. Did you display the side panel for properties?
Yeah, so the best way to find properties for a particular component is to go to the, is basically search for it. I mean, for HTML elements, there's so many sites that will list all the properties for the HTML element. There's a Mozilla developer site that is a very nice site that has a lot of HTML5 information. For jQuery components, you would go to jQuery documentation. So, those are sort of, I think, one of the best sites out there to find what element or what property is supported by which component.
Okay, and then we touched on the fact that the barcode scan returns a third field that's called canceled. Can you, what does that do again?
Yeah, I think cancel returns yes or no if you launch the barcode scanner and then cancel or just go back.
Mm-hmm.
It will return canceled.
Okay, now
so you can, if you launched and you need to click cancel, then maybe you can show something in the app, user canceled the scanning, for example.
Okay. And then the database you were using, someone wanted to ask a question about where exactly is that database? Is it local on your phone or is it on a remote database server?
It's a remote database server. It's part of the platform, Opry.io platform, but it's a cloud database that we connected to via REST API.
Okay, and you were using a lot of Java. You had your cheat sheet with JavaScript snippets. The documentation, of course, has those spelled out, right? They're pretty okay. So if you just use the documentation, you'll see those snippets. You can have your own cheat sheet. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Here's a question that's I remember from our last one. How do you protect API keys so someone else can't hit the services without my client?
Yeah, so we showed actually we showed in the last webinar using the.
So what's the new thing? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you can keep your private information, like API keys, for example, on the server, so that no one can just do view source on the mobile web app and see your API key. So you can view our last webinar, but I'm sure we'll be covering the feature.
Yeah, you can go to our YouTube channel is organized by sections, and one of the sections, of course, is webinars. So just go to the Opry.io YouTube channel, and it would be the last webinar that we held. Here's a question about ACL. That's a Windows thing, right? I'm not sure if that's really connected that much with.
I don't see the question.
What is an ACL, number 2? What is an ACL and how does that work?
I guess so ACL stands for Access Control List, and that allows you to define who has access to that particular record in the database. So right now, the ACL right here set to star means everyone can read and write the database, but you can also, for example, you can have an option where a user has to sign in or log in into the app, right? And in such case, the user's ID will be here. And that means every user will have his or her own scans, basically. So I actually see that it works. I mean, just going back, the
people are using
barcodes here. Yeah, the app works because we're getting more scans here. So again, it's basically permissions, right? So every user can have his or her own database record. So ACL, you would do that. And actually, the tutorial includes that.
Okay, and here's a question. When you do an export, does it export the entire code base? Or is there, and then another question, we'll answer that question first.
Yes, well, when we do the export, it builds the binary. So basically, it's all the client code that you need. The database is in the cloud, so the database, of course, is not exported.
But the code base, I guess, there's an option to export as HTML5 plus CSS plus, that would be the code base.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and is there custom JavaScript from Opry being used during this prototype? Is there anything JavaScript you weren't showing, or?
Well, I mean, there's obviously JavaScript, for example, when you invoke services, when you do mapping. Yeah, so it is JavaScript sort of from the platform, but once you export the app, I mean, you can view that JavaScript. So sort of it's all out there in the open.
Oh, okay. And at what point when you were adding JavaScript in the data mapping section, you had something called code? Was that because the local storage variable was named code? Or?
Exactly, yes. So if I go back here, this is for find item. And yeah, this is code. And well, the code is, this code here is because this is the column name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, and the value, yeah, so the value is the actual value from the local storage.
So in that case, code was just the column heading.
Yeah, so this has to match the column in the database.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just, it wasn't really a local storage variable.
Well, local storage is here.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. And then what about importing? Is it possible to import a jQuery project that's from outside of Appri.io? Or how would you go about doing that?
So there is no option yet to import an entire project into Appri.io, but you can definitely import or add, JavaScript and CSS, for example.
Yeah.
But there is no option yet to import an entire project.
So you can import it if you have some JavaScript in a file. You can import that as an asset to a project that you're working on.
Yes.
So you import it by bits and pieces. Okay. If the app is running in the browser as just a web app, will the barcode scanner function?
No. So if it's running as a mobile web, it will not run, and because there is no barcode scanner in the browser. And I mean, we can actually, once you launch it, for example, right, when you click scan, nothing happens. And if you open the console, it's actually going to say that barcode scanner is not defined, right? Because basically, the browser doesn't know what it is.
Okay.
We're getting these errors.
Now, here's a good question. You're designing this for a phone. Now, what if you want to actually port it as to the iPad? Can you just say use the iPad?
Yeah, I mean, it would just basically take up more real estate when running on the bigger screen device.
So the iPad thing is just okay. So you can do that after the fact.
Yeah.
All right. You still have to rearrange things, but they'll be there. Okay. How about what kind of security do we have on the backend database? I mean, the exact term is enterprise class, but maybe an easier way to answer that is just to say what kind of security people have.
Well, I guess I would need sort of more information. What exactly? I mean, there is the enterprise level securities available via mobile safe. I mentioned that briefly when I was covering the feature. So there is definitely enterprise level security.
Oh, okay.
But if you have need more information, just shoot us an email, and we'll.
Yeah, you have such a strange cryptic email too, max@exadel.com. All right. Here's another question. What about storing text strings so that you can obfuscate things such as links to YouTube videos without anyone knowing the actual private link? I guess that's would that be covered by the new feature you were describing before?
Can you text string give a method to? If the question is about secure REST, yes, you can basically store any app data, links, names, whatever on the server, and they will never be visible to the client. Okay.
Now, one thing this is kind of along the lines of, when people have mission-critical database services, there is some work that we're doing, right? I don't know if has this been implemented yet as part of Appri.io?
Yes. So, I mean, for example,
what would it be? What would it involve?
I mean, there are a couple of options. I mean, there's also virtual private cloud installation or on-premise installation that's available to customers.
But this would be a thing that someone would have to contact.
Yeah. This is part of the enterprise plan. Yeah, I mean,
this is advanced customization.
There, SLAs, as I said, private cloud installation, on-premise installation, which can be part of the enterprise.
But you're not going to get this from the free account, right?
No, not yet.
Okay. Here's a question about, let's see. Oh, how about connecting to a SOAP web service instead of a REST service?
Yeah, so to connect to a SOAP web service, you would one option is to use REST Express, which I mentioned at the beginning. It allows you to expose that SOAP service as a REST service.
And also, it's kind of interesting that the other part of the question is about a SQL database too, a SQL server, and exposing that, connecting to that. And once again, that's something that REST Express can do, right?
Yes.
Okay. Here's someone who's asking, who's looking at this database and saying, I can see records with the same name multiple times. I'm not sure.
That's probably because I'm guessing people are scanning and just using the same name for different products, so that's possible. I mean, we don't have any error checking. So yeah, you can enter the same name.
What? Oh, okay. It's about handling a project with multiple screens. Do you see that?
Multiple screens is very simple. I mean, this app only has one screen, but you would just create a new page. And you can define navigation between the pages. Which would just be an action under events, right? Yeah.
Click button to go to next screen.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Let's see. If you make a hybrid app, is that really two Apri apps? I'm not sure. One is a native app and another an HTML5, or can they be combined? That's the question.
I guess the question is, if you make a hybrid app, is that it's two apps? The base is the same. So you always start with the HTML5 mobile app. So you get that. That's the starting point. And then you can publish it as an HTML5 mobile app, or you can build a hybrid app. But the code base is the same, right? So you can think of it as multiple apps. I guess one is running in the browser, the other one is installed on the phone, but the code base is the same.
Okay. Oh, and here's a question. I guess this is about our backend database. Is there an option to export it? Like this person is asking, can you just export it out as a CSV file?
Yes, you can.
Oh, okay. A simple answer. Well, I think we're going to, we'll kind of run out of questions now. So unless anyone has any other questions, I think I'm just going to wrap this up. Thanks to Max, another excellent performance. That's about it. We do really appreciate people spending time with us to learn more about Apri.io. We're very excited about it. We just like sharing that excitement with other people. So just a note too is that this is recorded. So as part of the follow-up, you'll get a link to the YouTube video, the YouTube version of this recording. And I'm going to start shutting everything down. And I just like to thank you one more time for attending this. So let's